Memphis, 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 Memphis. Nothing but Memphis.
That's right, nothing but Memphis Showboats right here on the Captain's Log. I'm your host, Brandon, aka the Captain. Got a special bonus episode for you guys today. We're going to be doing an interview to get to know one of the new Showboats coaches, TJ Vernieri. TJ, how you doing, buddy? Thank you for joining me.
Absolutely. Fantastic, Brandon. Really excited about being with the Showboats and being on the show. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Not a problem, man. Let's get right into it, man. Like I said, you're the first interview here. I'm going to get the Yacht Club to get to know you. You are the tight end, and are you still the offensive quality control coach? I think is the title that you had.
Yes, I have a dual title there, but primarily tight ends. But yes, absolutely.
Okay. Gotcha. So starting off in your coaching career, so you went to UConn and you were a student manager before you walked on as a wide receiver?
Yeah, so I kind of have a funky journey. Wasn't recruited out of high school, and I applied to school as a regular student thinking that my football career was over. UConn stood out to me for their sports manager program, which actually didn't become my degree. But anyway, I found an opportunity to become a student manager with a football team, and I thought this was my best way to kind of bridge into, you know, the next phase of my football life, whatever the case may be. And then about a year later, I still stayed in shape and everything, and I worked out with the guys that eventually became my teammates. And I have to give a shout out to Noel Thomas Jr., who was a good teammate of mine. And he was a big focal point inspiring me to tell me that I had the talent to play at the college level. And little did I know, he put in a recommendation for me. Two other guys followed suit, and I eventually went through some tests and made the team. So, which was fantastic. Battled a bunch of injuries, unfortunately, and I really didn't get to see my college playing career come to fruition. But Coach Etzel offered me the opportunity to start my coaching career as a student assistant, it was just my first stop as a coach in 2018.
So you didn't go to UConn with the intentions of even playing. You just wanted to be somewhere around football and involved with football.
I didn't know. I really didn't know what was going to happen. Honestly, it was tough to kind of realize and put together that football might be over. But selfishly, in the back of my mind, I said this is not over, and I said I would find any way to make it possible, and I found a way. So it continued to grow, and I want to carry over all the stuff that I had as a player and bring it over now as a coach. So the mentality has always been the same.
Heck yeah, man. So after UConn, you go to, let me see, you say Lycoming?
Lycoming College, yes, sir.
Okay, and what is that? What division is that? D2?
That is Division III in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
D2.
Yes, I was the wide receivers coach for 2 years.
Went up there, wide receivers coach for 2 years, and then so you go from Lycoming to the CFL. How did that work? Did you already have a CFL guy, and he already went up there and kind of took you with him, or?
So I have many jerseys in this room, as you can see, but I have to point. Whoops, I got to point to this guy right here. Okay, so that is Herji Mayala, who was my college teammate at UConn. We're the same recruiting class and everything. And he was actually a first-round draft pick by the Stampeders in 2019. So I went to the AFCA convention, the American Football Coaches Association convention in 2020 in Nashville, and I actually saw some guys that were wearing some Stampeders gear. And this is at the time when I was working for Lycoming. And I got to know 3 of them very well, and I was actually invited to go to rookie minicamp. And eventually I just built a relationship with Dave Dickinson, who became my head coach. And shout out to Dave and all those guys and everything, all the Stampeders. But built a relationship with him, and eventually he had an opening, went through an interview, and offered me the job. That was in 2021. So my first year with the Stampeders, I was offensive assistant with really primary focus on the running backs, and then eventually I was promoted at the end of 2021 and was the full-time running backs coach in 2021.
Nice. So you go places and you seem to make an impact, and enough so to where, hey, we're climbing this ladder, baby. TJ gets to a spot, he's leaving the spot a little bit better than that spot. Then he found it, right?
You know, I'd like to think so, Brandon. I think you could point at every spot in my career. Selfishly, again, I say this from a way of grace, but I think
like, every single location I've been,
I'd like to think that I've had a positive impact on the offense to some extent.
So with the CFL game, I'm not a big CFL fan. I know a couple of the things. I know it's like 3-down football, field goals in the front. What was there any different challenges for you? That was your first. You just kind of jumped right into CFL. It seems like.
Right. And I've always followed the CFL because I've had I've had many teammates play in the CFL. Obviously, I know some coaches in the CFL now, which is fantastic. It's a very
it was kind of
game.
our only spring league before spring leagues, you know.
Right. And it's a very different game than American football gridiron rules. It's more unique with the motions, and obviously the goalposts are in the front, the end zones are longer, the field's longer, the field's wider. There's a lot of different things that you can take away from that game and really apply it to anything in football, in my opinion. So I'm extremely grateful for my time in Canada. It was truly fantastic experience. We won a lot of football games in that time. I built so many great relationships that I continue to foster and grow to this day. But it definitely, for sure, if you haven't learned the Canadian gridiron football rules to that point in time or later in life, it's an adjustment, and that goes for player and coach, whatever the case may be. You certainly have to develop your skills as a player as well as a coach up there.
Gotcha, man. That CFL, they got a running start too, don't they? Or am I thinking about a reading?
No, there is a forward motion which is called the waggle, and that's what kind of gets people going. So you can start the play with essentially every play is a shift essentially in the CFL. So you have people moving laterally, you have people moving right in your face vertically. So it's a lot of different components. Obviously, there's 12 people on the field, so it's going to alter how you view coverages, how you adjust the protections, how you create route concepts, which is really awesome and exciting.
I didn't know that. It's 12 versus 12, not 11 on 11.
Yes, sir. 12 on 12. You still have 5 offensive linemen, but you have a 6th eligible now. So your concepts, you can essentially be an empty in every single play and still have a running back and make people account for the box and play true football, which is awesome. It's really awesome.
I imagine for offensive guys, they love it. I'm sure the defensive guys absolutely can't stand it.
Defensive guys don't really want a wide receiver that runs really fast with a huge head start because everyone's running forward at you. So it's really difficult as a defensive back to cover so much space in so little time. So very difficult.
So you've made it, what's that? That's 3 stops after the CFL, or once we get to the CFL, that's stop 3?
That's stop 3. Yes, sir.
Okay. And then, so how do we make our way back to America? In the CFL, did you live in Canada too? Or at least for a little bit, I assume.
Absolutely did. I lived there.
Okay. And so coming back to America, you get in with the USFL, where you told me you weren't in year 1. I made that mistake. Where you weren't here year 1, you were here year 2?
Year 2 of the USFL in 2023 was my first year.
Okay. And how'd you get in touch with John D. Filippo?
So Flip and I actually had a few mutual contacts. It actually starts back to when I was at Lycoming, and our quarterbacks coach worked with him at San Jose State. And then when I went to the Stampeders, my general manager, John Huffnagel, was his offensive coordinator at the New York Giants. So it's kind of cool to have 2 kind of stops in my journey that have led me to Flip and everything. And so he told me at the end of 2022 that he had an opening, and then went through interview, and we went from there, which was really awesome and exciting. And obviously the Breaker season was really successful. We won a lot of football games. We won 7. It was unfortunate we lost the playoff game, but I know there's plenty to grow on this year. Plenty.
It wasn't too unfortunate watching from this side, but you're with the good guys now, so we can we're rooting for you this time. You know, I mean, obviously we're in the South. Obviously we're in the South, so it's like I didn't want the Stallions to win either, but it's like y'all just absolutely beat the brakes off of us week 9 and ruined our playoff hopes. So that's
probably one of my favorite games ever in the Liberty Bowl to this date, to this point in time. Breakers versus Showboats, but that was an awesome game. And again, I'm go boats all the way and everything, but that was an awesome win for us.
No, I'm glad. Yeah, we're happy you had a good time, TJ. We're happy you had a good time in the Liberty Bowl. Okay, we're more happy that you're going to bring some good times for us at the Liberty Bowl.
That's right.
So you make it to the USFL. You're with John D. Filippo. So what exactly? Yeah, I know you said you're mainly with the tight end. So what is the little odd job with the offensive quality control coach? Are you like in the offensive meetings, like reading through the playbook, trying to make sure everything's right? Like what does that entail?
Yeah, basically, I am kind of in charge of handling things from a drawing standpoint or installs, and kind of just handling any of those tasks. So it's certainly a lot that I do for that role in that position, but obviously breaking down film, all that stuff is really built into my title anyways, the tight ends coach. So, but it's just kind of a reminder that I'm in charge of, and obviously me and Flip work together on a bunch of that stuff, which is really awesome to work with him on those things. But I obviously oversee a lot of those different things in terms of getting our operation done day to day.
Now, through your coaching career so far, have you always been able to work with like offensive-minded head coaches, or have you had any experience with defensive-minded?
Yeah, if you go back, it's funny because if you go back to if you look at my career, my playing career at UConn, so I played for Coach Diaco, who was a defensive mind, and then I played for Coach Etzel, who was coached both sides of the ball, but I think you'd probably call Coach Etzel a defensive mind as well. Obviously, a coach for him.
Okay.
That's my first stop as a coach. And then I worked for Mike Clark, who was my head coach at Lycombe. He was an offensive guy. And then Dave Dickinson, my head coach of the Stampeders, was an offensive guy. Obviously, Flip is an offensive guy. And then this past year, I was with Gannon University, Gannon Golden Knights, this fall. And the Coach Rayburn is an offensive mind as well. And then obviously back to Flip is an offensive mind there. So I've had actually offensive minds for every single stop except for my first, which obviously as an offensive coach, it's great to learn and continue to grow my game from other offensive coaches. So you want to continue to develop your game on both sides of the ball, but having that focus, me being an offensive player, offensive coach, I think that carries a long way.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to say, man, like, is there any coach, any one of these offensive guys that kind of like unlocked it for you, that like said that one thing that you were like, oh, wow, it all kind of makes sense now?
Well, I can't give credit. I'm fortunate that I've worked for so many great head coaches at this point in time, and there isn't really, and I'm not saying this to give you the humble answer, but there's a lot that I've taken from every head coach that I've had, dating back to playing for Coach Diaco all the way up to now working for Flip. And there's a little bit that I've taken away from everybody and everything and stuff that I put together in my personal notes and my personal archives and all those things. So there's not one guy that gets credit for anything in terms of my personal development in that course, in my career course.
Now, have you had a chance yet? I'm sure, like in your little side time, maybe you're drawing up a couple plays on a napkin for Flip. Maybe you got a little, got a little tricks up your sleeve. Have you ever been able to draw up a play really that you've seen be executed by your guys?
I have. I'll answer that two ways, Brandon. First way is every coach. I'd like to think every coach has their own stuff that they work on in their own time, and you have to, because those talks with yourself, the way that you kind of figure out, you learn what you like. And again, once you have a different head coach, you have a different system. You develop a system for the system, which is what I always say. And if you're continuing to develop and grow those ideas, I think that's going to just propel your career even further down the line. So selfishly, I'm always looking at different things that I can get better and improve on. And obviously cementing your notes, and not just you just write them down, but put them on the computer, all those different things. So you have a plan going forward. And the second way that I'm going to answer that question is I have made the call sheet a few times for a few different teams, which is always great, especially as a young coach and you continue to grow in that field. But I have certainly made the call sheet a few different times, and I hope to continue that. My knowledge and the way that I carry myself propels me even forward to getting more input in places that I continue to work.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. So talked a little bit about that week 9 game, and I don't have the stats in front of me, but I got to imagine that Sage absolutely tore us up like he did pretty much all season to everybody, man. Just talk a little bit about that guy and what the Yacht Club should expect from this just monster. I mean, if it wasn't for Jay Sternberger, it'd be Sage Surratt season,
Right. And first of all, shout out to Sage. I love Sage. First of all, I love every single player that I've ever worked with, but I know Sage and I have a very special relationship. And I know when I got this job and then we picked Sage, you guys know that there was an immediate phone call between the two of us. And that's a great player-coach relationship. And that's something that I've always harped off of personally in my development and all those different things, and being close to your players. It's super important as you continue to grow in this industry. But Sage and I have a really special relationship. And I think that obviously you have Coach Flipback, me, Sage, the three of us, I think have obviously all of us have contributed a different piece to Sage's obviously performance on the field, which is fantastic. And I think that continuity of success, because you can't just have continuity of being average, the continuity of success is something that I think is going to bring all of us together and continue to get more production out of Sage and in our offense. And obviously Sage has done a great job for us, and I only expect good things moving forward.
I know that's right. I'm pretty sure he played USFL season 1 with the
Birmingham.
Birmingham, that's right.
Nice, yeah.
So Sage, coming back for year 3, that's one of the things I really love is like some of these homegrown stars that we're starting to see, like the Darius Victors. We've got the Case Cookuses. Just talking about our roster in particular.
Absolutely.
Were you able to kind of scout any of the tight ends that we have now? JJ Wilson, John Mitchell, a couple of those guys.
Yeah, I've watched all of our tight ends, and we're always in the process of player evaluation, and I think that's something that we're just going to always continue to harp on and work on as we continue to get closer to the season.
So is there a dream tight end that TJ Vernieri
Yes.
wanted to ever work with? Who's your or did you just kind of fall into the tight end group?
Selfishly, Brandon, I can coach any position on offense, Brandon. That's always been my belief.
Tell him, TJ.
I know that I can coach any position on offense, and I always knew that there would be a point in time that I would coach tight ends, and it's really exciting because we get to do a little bit of everything, which is awesome. You get to block, you get to catch, you get to run routes, you get to do something, you get to protect, you get to do a lot of different stuff, and especially for being in Flip's offense, the tight end is such a special role. But I think, are you asking me who my favorite tight end maybe is of all time? Is that kind of the question there?
Yeah, that was kind of where we started, and then I went off on a little bit, first interview, so we're trying some things here.
Yeah, I think
but yeah,
if I had to look at
too.
Right. If I had to look at somebody that I think has always been kind of the standard for playing the tight end position, I think it has to start with Tony Gonzalez, in my opinion. And obviously what he's done with the Chiefs and the Falcons at the end of his career was absolutely fantastic. He can run routes, he can catch, he can block, he do a lot of different things. And just, I think that's kind of where the position has continued to, like, that's really the starting point for the receiver tight end hybrid spot, in my opinion, when you look at recent football history. And I think Tony Gonzalez was an absolute monster of a player. And that's what's kind of created that trend as tight ends continue to become more involved in offenses nowadays.
Yeah, the tight end is receiver, offensive lineman, fullback. He does it all, man. So how do you, being a former receiver, did you have a lot of blocking duties, or do you kind of lean on some of your offensive line coaches to kind of help with the blocking schemes? How does that work?
Well, the no position on our system, I think our system is about continuity and collaboration. So every position is going to work with every coach at some point in time. And I think that's what's great about our team and our operation is obviously we have Coach Turner, who's a fantastic offensive line coach. Obviously, Coach Flip, great quarterback mind, offensive mind, all that stuff. Doug Martin is a fantastic coach who's our wideouts guy. And Coach Dahl, who's been fantastic as well, coaching our running back. So there's a lot of experience, and me being the most youthful guy in that group, I think it's really exciting for me because I get to pick their brains on things, and we go back and forth, bounce off ideas, and that's where really the collaboration starts. So it's not just one guy doing one thing; everyone's a part of the offense in a different way.
So you played the Showboats twice last year. I'm sure our offense was, it was an offense. It definitely was a football offense. So was there anything that you noticed that you're going to bring over, or that maybe Flips talked about that you guys are going to bring over and be able to turn this thing around a little bit? Because our defense is nice. I see we kept Carnell Lake. I think this will be your first time working with Coach Carnell. I know the Yacht Club was excited we were keeping him around, but our offensive woes, what are you guys going to do to change this thing around?
Well, it starts obviously with preparation day to day, and that starts in training camp. And really the biggest way and I've been a part of teams that obviously you go on a little bit of losing streak, go on winning streak, and I believe we had a little bit of a losing streak with the Breakers at one point, but we were able to rally. And I think the best way to kind of reverse the course and right the ship, no pun intended, is to just continue to work on the little things, the fundamentals, all of that stuff, and obviously build continuity with our players and coaches, bridge that relationship together. And it comes down to execution at the end of the day. If you need to catch the ball, catch the ball. You need to run the ball, all those different things, doing your assignments every single time you're asked to do that, and building that mentality, I think, is what's going to be a huge part of what makes our Showboat season fantastic this year.
It's so simple, ain't it? Just catch ball, see ball, run
simple
ball,
game.
Don't lose ball.
Very simple game.
Football is football. So you were with the Breakers last year. You didn't have a home team environment, really. How excited are you guys to get out to Memphis and finally have a home crowd behind you? I think you guys beat the Stallions once in Birmingham,
We did.
So you got to kind of take their soul out of them for a little bit. So how does it feel having the backing of Memphis this year behind you guys?
Yeah, and I have to say we went to, I want to say, 3 different stadiums when I was with the Breakers last year, but the Liberty Bowl always stood out to me. And I actually, when I was a student assistant at UConn in my first coaching job, we played at the Liberty Bowl. So I always remembered sitting in the press box and obviously doing all of my coaching duties and all those different things. So I have a little bit of nostalgia every time I go back to the Liberty Bowl and all this different stuff. So I want to say that the first time we were at the Liberty Bowl was the scrimmage last year that we did. And then we obviously played 2 regular season games there. So it was a great feeling of nostalgia and being back in that stadium that I think was so special. And I hope that we continue to grow our fan base and all those different things. And the UFL is going to be such an exciting year this year. And obviously our Showboats team, I'm really excited about us. So it's going to be great to have an awesome home environment and all those different things.
So when the USFL season ended last year, we talked about it a little bit. You went over to Gannon University.
Yes,
you call it the Golden Knights. Is that
Yes,
who they are?
Yep, Gannon Golden Knights.
Okay. Is that D2 or are we back
Division
in D3?
Division 2.
D2. Okay. So what is it with the USFL? It's kind of like part-time, and then do you already know a guy over at Gannon that you were able to kind of just keep your coaching going? Did you want to just stay fresh?
Yeah, I was just looking for a new opportunity for the fall, and I wanted to continue to coach, and Gannon has provided me with so many different experiences and great things, and shout out to those guys. I think we all did a great job in developing our offense and our wide receiver room. I think it was great that we had wins that we ran the ball really well, and we had wins that we threw the ball really well. So it was great to kind of go back and forth in our identity, and I think working at Gannon was fantastic, and obviously Flip gave me a great opportunity to come back. So I've always had so much respect for every single head coach that I've worked for, and every single head coach and organization that I've been a part of. So really appreciative of my opportunity at Gannon, and I'm really appreciative to be back with Coach Flip and be with the Showboats now.
Absolutely, man. Hey, we're happy to have you. I hear the rain coming. It's about to get a little ugly on my side of town, brother, but I appreciate you so much for doing this, TJ. We'll have to do it again, maybe during the season, maybe after a big win, week 1 W, a little Victory Monday celebration with Cap and TJ. So real quick, going off, just tell Memphis, just give us a little parting note for Memphis. What can we expect from our Showboats, this exciting brand of Showboats football?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be a great season. I think we have a great roster. We have great coaches, and those 2 things, collaborating and working together, are going to be fantastic. And I know selfishly, from my perspective, any team that I'm a part of, I know I want to do my best and contribute my individual contribution to the team. And I'm really excited about that, and I'm really excited about being a Showboat. So go Boats, and we'll see you in the Liberty Bowl.
There you go. I was just about to say before we sign off, let's get a Go Boats in there. Hey, TJ, it's been awesome, man. This has been the Captain's Log. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Go support our guy, TJ. Like he said, go Boats, baby.
Go Boats.